if you think about kind of the real world experience, maybe you pay $30, $50, $100 to go see a show. Maybe you buy the $30, $40 t-shirt. That's kind of all you can contribute. On Twitch, it's uncapped. You can give lots of gift subscriptions. You can give an unlimited number of dollars. I mean, it's fairly regular. I mean, I go on Twitch Music like pretty much every day for an hour or several hours. And, you see people drop thousands of dollars a week. One stream, someone will drop 100 gift subs, which is $500. They give $1,000 donation, those sort of things. And so, that's the thing that's so special is, you can support the artist however you want. And that community all kind of sees it. And it incentivizes everyone else to give support as well.
You're right. When you buy a ticket to a concert, they don't say it's $30 or more. They're just like, this is the cost. And when you buy a t-shirt, it's like, this is the cost of that. It's very transactional and can seemingly be a little cold. Whereas it's so much more fluid. And I love that, Twitch works in like bits and subs and subscriptions and it's not like dollars necessarily, but we know it's like you just gifted 100 subs. It's like, wow, you just dropped $500 on this artist. What's going on? Welcome to the New Music Business. I'm your host, Ari Herstand, author of How to Make It in the New Music Business, the book. Today's a special episode. It is a live podcast episode in the spirit of what we're talking about today, which is live streaming specifically on Twitch. We invited Ari's Take Academy students to be part of the conversation, and you'll hear a few of their questions at the end. My guest today is Tracy Patrick Chan. He is currently the VP head of music at Twitch. He is the top honcho. He's the dude. He's the guy who's in charge of the direction of music at Twitch and all things music at Twitch. Now, before that, he has actually a very impressive resume. He was at Spotify for Art. He's the guy who actually created Spotify for Artists. So I'm sure everyone listening to this is extremely familiar with Spotify for Artists like I am and are on there every single day checking out your stats. You can thank Tracy for that. He's the one who created those artist tools. And then before that, he was at YouTube and he created the artist tools at YouTube, like YouTube Analytics. And so Tracy is that guy who kind of comes in and creates the tools for artists. So he is still fairly new to the company. He started right at kind of the start of the pandemic. Twitch is rapidly evolving and shifting every day. And so we get into that. Depending on when you're listening to this, things most likely will have evolved by this conversation in the specifics of the points that we touch on in the programs that are dealing with, like we talk about soundtrack and we talk about rights and we talk about licenses and all that stuff. But really the majority and the bulk of this conversation is, how do you be successful on Twitch? Should you even start Twitch? Who is Twitch for? Is it good for everyone? Or just the select few? Do you need millions of followers to make a living on Twitch? The answer to that is actually, I'm going to tell you no. And there's a really, really interesting stat that he brings up, and I'm going to save it so you'll stick with the episode. And where he discusses, and this is newsy because I don't think this is printed or written anywhere else, that he just got cleared to release these numbers. What it means when an artist is making a good living on Twitch and making a good living annually just from Twitch, what that actually means. And it's astounding how few fans you actually need and few followers to do that. It's like the opposite of the micro payments and macro numbers that we deal with on Spotify and Apple Music and YouTube and all of that craziness. So really interesting conversation that I had with the head of music, Tracy Patrick Chan. I know you're going to enjoy it. As always, please like, follow, subscribe. However you're listening to this right now, pause this and follow it. If you're on Spotify, if you're on Apple, wherever you are, Stitcher, follow us, give us a subscribe. If you're on YouTube right now, please hit that subscribe button. You can follow me on Instagram or Twitter. I'm just at Ari Herstand. And then you can follow all of us, everyone who's making this show happen. That's at Ari's Take, both on Instagram and Twitter. As always, visit aristake.com, sign up for the email list. If you're not on the email list, you're missing some really, really important information that I send out regularly about the new music business. All right, let's kick into the show. Tracy Patrick Chan, welcome to the show.
Good to be here with you, Ari.
Yeah. So You have a really interesting story, and it's I'm really excited that now that you're the head of music at Twitch, VP head of music at Twitch, that we can kind of dig into this, because it seems like you always kind of come into these tech companies that have music as a really big component of it right at the perfect time, when they're like it's a need for, it's like, oh, we should really cater to the musicians' needs, and it's like, the platform has become successful, and now we need to, like, really, musicians are saying, hey, like, we could really use some additional tools and some ways that you could help us, and then you pop in and save the day. You did that with YouTube, where you kind of came in and created that whole creator universe and the analytics and all of that on YouTube. Which is brilliant. I remember when it came out, and it was just mind-blowing, and it was so helpful and useful for musicians to just kind of see where their audience was and their fans, and it was visual, and it was great. And then you did it at Spotify. For people who don't know, Tracy created Spotify for artists, and like came in there and did that, which is, also brilliant, and something that was like so desperately needed. So I'm curious, what are you doing at Twitch now? What is happening at Twitch? Twitch, for like, up until recently, me and most people thought it was just a gamer platform. I thought it was just like for video gaming, and then like people would watch people play video games, and I'm just like, that's cool. But then, since the pandemic started, like, musicians, I've noticed, have been flooding it. And I'm like, man, so what is happening with Twitch in the music space, and what are you doing there?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think, like you said, I always just kind of like to be kind of helping build the future, because just music has changed so much, over the last several decades, and it continues to change. And so, for me, arguably I was at a really, really great spot at Spotify, building Spotify for artists and for building tools for labels and songwriters and publishers and all of them. We built kind of all of the basics, and really kind of the thing that was really exciting to me about Twitch was artists have just been telling me left and right, we want to get to know our fans. Yep, you're giving me these nice charts and graphs over at Spotify, and we were building more and more stuff, but it's like, I just want to get to know who they are. Why is my music resonating with them? What are they thinking about day to day? Because, ultimately that relationship between artist and fan is one of the most powerful ones. And that's what kind of helps you throughout your careers, through the ups and the downs. And so with Twitch, what was super exciting was, yep, it's super kind of video game forward, and that's what we're most known for. But there's always been that kind of small dedicated, community of musicians who like kind of figured out a different model, where it wasn't just, hey, I'm posting pictures to, Instagram or whatever and doing some comments and likes. It was like spending a quality time with the fans. And so, as I started talking with the Twitch team, because, I was just so kind of blown away on just how the artists were interacting with the fans. I talked to a bunch of my artists and manager friends on like, hey, what's the deal with Twitch relative to, Instagram Live or YouTube Live and things like that. And the things that they were telling me were just kind of like mind blowing. So, they were telling me things like, if you look at some of the social platforms, you get a few minutes of watching and things like that. On Twitch, people are sticking around and interacting with the artists for like 1 to 2 hours. And, coming from Spotify and YouTube, I'm like, that makes no sense to me. I'm much more of a 4-minute kind of guy.
Right.
And so, as I dug, more and more into just what Twitch was all about, it just became super, super exciting that this could be the future where artists and fans could actually spend lots of time together. They could get to know each other. And it wasn't just the fans getting to know the artists and, the behind the scenes and the creative process. It was the artists getting to know the fans as well. And so that was kind of the genesis of, what attracted me so much about Twitch, because there was just such a need, for artists of all sizes to kind of get to know their fans. So that was kind of, when I joined, and this was kind of at the beginning, of the pandemic. And so obviously, tours were starting to shut down, venues were starting to shut down. And like you pointed out, a bunch of artists just started to come on to Twitch and just try to figure out, what is this, service all about? And, I think initially a lot of artists started, hey, I have my stage show, I'm just going to bring it on to Twitch and just kind of do the live stream. And, those kind of worked okay. But what was really, really working really well was kind of just doing what those musicians who were already on Twitch we're doing, which is, actually spending quality time.
Mm-hmm.
The trick really of Twitch is if you as an artist let your community of fans actually kind of basically kind of help control what's happening with the performance, what's happening on screen. That's where the magic really, really happens.
So let's dig into that a little bit, because I think this is a resistance point or a challenge point for a lot of musicians that are starting to live stream, no matter the platform, but definitely Twitch, because you have the most built out features to facilitate this, what you're talking about. And I think a lot of musicians who are listening to this have no idea what you're saying right now or talking about, and they can't fathom that fans are on there for 2 hours. Like, wait, I want to, like a concert. So, when musicians think about crafting a stage show, we think about the set list. We think about maybe even, what we're going to say in between the songs. The banter's almost sometimes planned out, or it's been worked out through the hundreds of shows that we've played. We know how it's going to work. And then, most times you're can't really see the audience. Sometimes you can if you're in like a well-lit environment or something like that. Or, maybe solo singer-songwriter shows are a little bit different. If you're in a listening room, you can kind of vibe off of them a little bit, but there isn't a back and forth really ever. It's just a performance. So when you're saying that the audience, the fans can help guide or dictate what the show is, I don't understand what that means. So explain what you mean by that.
Totally. No, I mean, that's a great point. And I think you're right. It takes a mindset shift. So the way that, a lot of artists think about it is, think about Twitch initially, to your point, is they think, how do I take my show and just kind of put it in a live stream so that, my fans are in the front row of the concert? Well, it's that, but also it's the green room experience as well. So if you kind of mindset shift there, think about a green room, think about, you might be hanging out, you might be talking, maybe you kind of play a few songs or that sort of thing. That's where the magic actually happens. And so, that's what we just that's the mindset shift that we, like to help artists kind of understand. It's no, your fans are there. Think about them. And I think to your point, good.
Oh no, go, keep going.
Oh, I was just going to say, I was just thinking about, we have an artist named Kiger. It's Kiiger. She exactly said the same thing that you did. She's like, when I do a live show, yes, I interact with the audience and, talk with them, but in some ways it's everything kind of feels a little bit pre-planned, and it is a show. Kind of all aspects of it is a show. But the thing about live streams is this is ephemeral content. You know what I mean? And so you don't have to be so produced. And I think the audience appreciates kind of some realness, or if you're feeling down, you can kind of talk about what's going on in your day, and you don't have to be super perfect. And I think that authenticity, it leads to a better relationship with artists and fans.
Yeah, I love that you referred to it as the green room experience, because I think every artist can understand that when it's put into that when it's put into that mindset and that concept, we get that. And I remember on some of my tours there, I remember this one tour that I did where I was playing Shubas in Chicago, and I got hit up a couple days beforehand and by this guy. He's like, hey, I'm bringing a date to your show. She's a big fan. I want to impress her. Do you think that you could come hang out with you in the green room before the show? I'll pay you $200 and just maybe we could just hang out and you could play a couple songs. I'm like, holy shit, that's the easiest $200 I've ever made. And you would pay for this? You just want to pay to just hang out for 15, 20 minutes. And we did it and it was amazing. And, and I played a couple songs. We chatted, we shot the shit. I asked them about themselves. They, it's me. I played a couple songs, and that experience, it felt very organic. I made some money, which was amazing. And then they did sit actually front row at the concert, and they became giant fans. And to this day, they're super fans. And I get that. And so not even just the aspect of getting to know your fans better, that was a kind of a light bulb moment for me. I'm like, this could be a revenue stream too. And people are willing to pay for this backstage behind the scenes content. And this almost kind of seems like it's like bringing it into this digital space. Now, Twitch does, for people who like don't have much experience with it, one of the coolest components of it is there are so many built-in features, and some features that are just accepted on there that you can kind of showcase through, you know, third-party platforms like Streamlabs OBS or something like that. You have little tip jars, you have flying emotes all over the screen, little icons, things. You have like, but really at the end, yes, it's almost like a gamified experience, but it's a way for fans to also support the artists that they really dig. So speak to that a little bit, because I think a lot of artists, when all tours got shut down, are looking for ways to subsidize that missing income. And we've seen like some artists are able to significantly subsidize that income and actually make a pretty decent revenue stream and income on Twitch by kind of following, you know, what the etiquette is of the platform. And what you're speaking to is like what people are there to do. They're not just there to sit front row, but actually be in the green room.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's a great point. And I think really the key is, you know, it's not just kind of letting the audience dictate what's happening on screen. It's really co-creating with them. And that's everything from, you know, hey, you know, doing song requests to, you know, doing kind of, you know, like you said, on screen kind of imagery or like videos or things like that, to even just like, you know, we have a bunch of artists who have smart lights in their room, and you can literally change the color of their room with, you know, a command in chat, things like
fun.
that.
Yeah.
So I think kind of that aspect, plus again, you know, think about, you know, those services that allow a fan to support an artist financially, like Patreon and Bandcamp and things like that. Now, the beauty of Twitch is the artist is right there. They know when you are actually supporting them. They shout you out. And so there's so much incentive for you to actually support that artist, because again, it just brings those artists and fans together. I think kind of going back to your point, I think one of the important things about Twitch is, you know, the community norms. And so what's beautiful about kind of the gaming side and having it, you know, having that audience already knowing like, hey, if I want custom emotes, if I want a badge to show I'm a subscriber, like the audience kind of knows what to do. And there is an expectation that you know, will support your favorite creator. And we have a bunch of dynamics built around that. So not only can like, you know, I as a fan subscribe to your channel, Ari, I can give gift subscriptions to everyone kind of in the room to support you as well. And so I think kind of there's a lot of ingrained behavior there, and it's working incredibly well. We have Rack. He's a Grammy nominated, you know, producer, artist. He's broadcasting a couple of days a week, and you know, the dude has Grammys. He goes on tour twice a year. He's saying, you know, he's making more money on Twitch than he is in his like real world concerts. And that's amazing because he can do it, you know, from his home. You know, he has his own setup. He can control what's there, and he gets that level of interaction too, because again, you know, especially for an artist like him, an electronic artist, you know, it's a dark setting with like lights and that sort of thing, and he can, you know, react with his fan base as well.
That's so cool. Yeah. And I mean, so when someone gifting subscriptions to other people, the artists, do they get paid for those?
Yes. Yep.
That's crazy. And so it's like, it's not only is the fan tipping the artist, supporting the artist that they're watching, they're also helping to facilitate community by 100%. Bringing people in and saying, hey, this is a fun place to be. And it's like the artist is sure they started the stream, they're kind of the head facilitator, but now you have all of these like co-facilitators that are helping to enhance the experience and show everybody else there. It's kind of like the person at the concert who you know, takes the young buck first time there under their wing, and it's like, oh, is this your first show? Man, well, this is my 37th show of this artist, and I love them, but like, just wait for when they play this song, and this is what's gonna happen, and this is what we're gonna do. Make sure you get your phone out for this moment, and you know, and it's kind of like you show them the way of the world in that realm. And it's kind of like, I've seen that in the chats, is like people who've been there for a while, they kind of help out the other newbies there, or like when maybe an audience comes in, like somebody raids another stream, and then all these newbies come in, and they kind of want to show off to like this brand new crowd that just came in, and it's like, hey, this is a cool place to be. So
well, and there's a couple of things in there that I think are important to point out. So like, first and foremost, the way to think about it is almost like a fan club, right? You have presidents of fan clubs who kind of, do this extra work and organization because they're really there to support the artist. In a lot of ways, our gift givers are that, right? They're saying like, hey, I want to support the artist. And when I give 5 gift subscriptions, which is $25 or 50 of them or whatever the number is, like the artist kind of knows that I'm a big gift subscriber, and that kind of cements our relationship. And then the community knows that as well, because we have badging who shows who's the biggest gift givers and that sort of thing. And so you kind of get both that community vibe, like you said, because I mean, it's been said a lot. You generally, like across lots of services, you come for the content, but you stay for the community. And like that community around the artist is so special, because all the community members, they know each other, and this becomes like a friend circle for you, and you have that common connection of the artist. So that's really, really important. And then two, I think kind of to your point as well, if you think about kind of the real world experience, maybe you pay $30, $50, $100 to go see a show. Maybe you buy the $30, $40 t-shirt. That's kind of all you can contribute. On Twitch, it's uncapped. You can give lots of gift subscriptions. You can give an unlimited number of dollars. I mean, it's fairly regular. I mean, I go on Twitch Music like pretty much every day for an hour or several hours. And, you see people drop thousands of dollars, or thousands of dollars a week. One stream, someone will drop 100 gift subs, which is $500. They give $1,000 donation, those sort of things. And so, that's the thing that's so special is, you can support the artist however you want, and that community all kind of sees it, and it incentivizes everyone else to give support as well.
It's like this concept where, and I think, Derek Sivers, I'll attribute it to him. I think he was the first person that at least I heard say it, is that fans want to pay you, let them.
Yes.
And you have to actually facilitate a way to do that. And it's like one of the reasons why I love Bandcamp that does the pay what you want, and you can do, because like when I put my music on Bandcamp, one person paid me $200 for a 10-song album, and it was just like I gave them a way to support me. And it was a way that they could do that. But like, you're right. When you buy a ticket to a concert, they don't say it's $30 or more. They're just like, this is the cost. And when you buy a t-shirt, it's like, this is the cost of that. It's very transactional and can seemingly be a little cold. Whereas this, it's so much more fluid. And I love that, Twitch works in like bits and subs and subscriptions and it's not like dollars necessarily, but we know it's like you just gifted 100 subs. It's like, wow, you just dropped $500 on this artist. And like, that's amazing and so cool. And like mind blowing that actually happened. So when you mentioned earlier, it was Rack, I think you said, who is kind of making more money on Twitch than they were when they were touring traditionally. Like, I think that is going to be very eye-opening for some artists. And are there any numbers that you can share in terms of like, is he an anomaly? Is this like, well, he's the one that is actually making money and other people are making like $7 a week? I don't think people really have a grasp on the actual, the ability to make a decent revenue stream on Twitch, unless you're a Grammy winner like Rack.
Sure. Yeah. So that's the thing that has been super, super surprising to me is just, I mentioned before, the reason I came to Twitch was all about interaction. And as we started to dig into the stats and how well fans are supporting their favorite artists, like that kind of changed everything for me personally. Because again, I come from the world where you need millions of all the things, streams, video views, followers in order to make some decent money, because it's tough in the music business. What we're seeing on Twitch, so from just January to September, the number of artists making $25,000 or more annually has grown 750%. And so like $25,000 is a lot of streams. It's a lot of video views. And what's really, really surprising is that they're achieving the success with audiences on average less than 200 fans.
He emailed me right afterwards asking me to correct the numbers that he misstated. He had just received the numbers, and so we are breaking this news. Don't believe that this info is anywhere else. As of late October 2020, the median viewership for creators making over $50,000 was just 183 fans, meaning the majority of those musicians monetizing on Twitch are doing so with an average audience of just a few hundred total people. He actually says by accident 25,000 plus, it's actually 50,000, making $50,000 a year or more. Again, the median viewership for creators making over $50,000, just 183. We're not dealing with macro numbers here and micro payments. You can make over $50,000 a year on Twitch, according to these numbers, and many, many, many people are, with just 183 people watching you. And that's what these creators are doing.
And to me, that's just really, really mind blowing. So, there's a theory out there of 1,000 true fans. If you, have 1,000 true fans who pay you $100 a year, you can make $100,000. We're seeing this kind of in practice on Twitch. And it just kind of helps. To me, it's been unlearning everything I know about music, having worked in music for a very long time. Again, it's always been conditioned on you just need such scale. And what you actually need is passion and basically like that fandom. Because the other thing to kind of keep in mind is, as it's not just like one-time contributions. If you're broadcasting regularly, that's an opportunity for a fan to support you. And the super fans often, every single time you broadcast, they'll do some kind of financial support.
Yeah, it's not like running a Kickstarter every 3 years or something where they have one opportunity to give you a bunch of money. It's like every time you go live, you can do that. I want to hit those numbers again that you just said. So between January and September, there's a bunch of artists that are making at least $25,000 a year. You said it is 750% growth, but what does that mean? Do you have numbers of like the actual numbers of musicians that is? Is that like last year it was 5 and this year it's like 25 because it's like 750% growth? What does that mean?
So we're not disclosing specific numbers other than it is scaling very, very fast. And it's basically kind of that traditional hockey stick growth that you love to see with businesses and startups. But I can tell you there are a ton of artists making significant money, and it's, 25,000 and up.
Cool. And that's nuts. That I think the biggest takeaway, which is going to give a lot of artists, especially just starting out, some encouragement, is that you said the majority of them are from fewer than 200 fans.
Correct.
And like that is so reassuring and comforting because you're right. The music industry right now is obsessed with these micro payments and macro numbers. And it's kind of like you need 1 million streams to make barely $4,000 on Spotify. Barely. At this stage, it's even less. And it's like, man, 1 million streams, that seems so daunting. It's like, man, how am I going to get to there without like landing the holy grail on like an editorial playlist, which is like a shot in the dark. And it's like, but this seems a way, and to get $25,000, I can't do the math right now, but that is millions of streams. Yep. And that's like, But being able to get 200 fans, that seems a lot more attainable to me and a lot easier to do and accomplish, to make 25,000 a year from live streaming. So now the next question, I think a lot of musicians are thinking to themselves, is like, okay, that's awesome. How? How do I do this? Because like I've done a Twitch stream maybe and like I got 3 people on there and they're dipping in and out, and like 7 people came in one time, but like it didn't really go great. So like, how do I do this?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the best question of just like, how do you get started? And I think, it starts with just be true to yourself as an artist. I see too many artists, trying to emulate other styles and things like that. I think that authenticity is the thing that rings really, really true. The next thing that I would say is 2 things. So one, if you have places where you have existing fans like social, bring them over. Let them know when you're going to be streaming, create a regular schedule. Because I think, again, this is a live medium, and a lot of folks aren't trained to like, okay, I need to be at a certain place to watch a stream. Think about it, like a concert. Like you kind of have to be there, and that's the beauty of it. The most important thing, I think, is 200 fans is not a lot. We have a crazy music loving community on Twitch.
Cool.
Get involved in the community kind of as a viewer. And again, community is everything. So as you form kind of friendships with different streamers, with different community members, they will be there for you when you're ready to stream. And so some of our most successful streamers, like they were on Twitch for like a month or two, just kind of as a fan, kind of getting to know the ecosystem, getting to know like the best practices, but also just getting to know the other community members. And you mentioned before, we have, features, we have a feature called braids, where basically when you're done with the stream, you can push your whole live audience to another stream. As you develop those friendships, people will be there for you. And so what we see really, really successful with raids is it's just kind of like the headliner with the opener. Everyone loves to raid smaller channels, and that's just an ingrained behavior of Twitch as well, is because a lot of our streamers grew up with a couple of people, and then they grew and they grew and they grew, and it does take time. This is not a like you start with day one and you're just like killing it. It does take time to kind of build up your community. But again, the music community, they want to be there and they want to support creators. And so the more you can kind of get involved in the community, the faster you can grow.
And you make a really good point that I want to hit for the musicians listening to this, thinking about getting started on Twitch. Start as a fan and then get to know the community. Like that's so important because, and it's also getting to know the etiquette of just how it works on Twitch. And like, sure, maybe spend the first month just going around and getting to, seeing how people do it, follow the musicians you dig, seeing how fans are interacting, learn what all these terms are, like raid or subs or bits or like all these Twitch specific terms. And that's such an important step one to learn how you're going to do it. And it's kind of, and then you also hit, you touched on it briefly, but like when you said set a schedule, I really love that you mentioned that because I think a lot of us are very familiar with Instagram Live, Facebook Live, and what we think of there is just like, I'll go live one time. It pops up for all my followers. They'll tune in for a couple minutes maybe, and then that's it. And it's just like, it's kind of an afterthought. But you're creating this as like an event. You're saying, this is my schedule. And you're kind of touching on the consistency, how you kind of need to keep doing it. So you set a schedule. Maybe it's like, all right, Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday from 3 to 6 p.m. Pacific time, I'm going live, and find me on Twitch. You promote that everywhere. And then after you've done the month of Twitch research of like learning how it happens and how people are doing it, that seems like it's like you're kind of setting yourself up for success in that realm. Once you do the mindset shift, it's not Instagram, it's not Facebook. There's a completely different community, different etiquette. And that's another thing that you keep mentioning and referencing, the Twitch community. It's like, so it seems like there's the Twitch community and then there's these sub communities of people who really love video gaming and then people who really love music. Can you speak to that community aspect? Because I think where the mindset shift and challenge is coming for a lot of artists is like, we don't think of there's a Facebook community. We don't think there's an Instagram community. And if there's a Spotify community, it's really just kind of like music lovers. And like the YouTube, there's no real YouTube necessarily, like everybody's on YouTube and use it for whatever purposes. What do you mean when it's like Twitch community? Like, do you have any maybe numbers to share of just like people like spend more time on Twitch or have some time that they spend there or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, the biggest number that I can give you is every month, the Twitch community watches 1.5 billion hours of content. Like, whoa. That's staggering. And I think going back to what you said about the consistent schedule and kind of the other surfaces you pop in and out and you get a notification, the Twitch community is there it's long form content. And they're there to kind of watch, an hour plus of content, per session. And that's why the regular schedule matters. And then I think kind of going back to kind of the concept of like the Twitch community and gamers and all of that, I think one thing that's like super important is if you first think about like a gamer, right? These are people who like have consoles and they're used to spending lots of money on games themselves, and downloadable content, that sort of thing. And in a lot of ways, that's what's trained the Twitch community in and of itself to like support their favorite creators because they are spenders. Now,
Sure.
the interesting thing is if you think about just how the world is trending and kind of the next generation, everyone's grown up with an iPhone and an Android, right?
Mhm.
Everyone has played, Minecraft or Roblox or whatever. So realistically, people think about a gaming community, but everyone is becoming a gamer over time because everyone's grown up with it. Right.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so I think kind of, that's one important thing because you don't think about like, to your point, like who's the Spotify community? Well, everyone loves music. So like,
Right.
that's like not a thing. And what I think is really, really important is that this generation of like everyone is a gamer, everyone kind of has the expectation of they want to, they have access to, the creators that they love. And you put those two things together, in an environment like Twitch where, okay, now I am supporting, that creator that I, really love.
Mhm.
That's where I think kind of we have a lot of, wind in our sails. And that's why the model is working super, super well.
Mm.
Is that, creators, are creating and these fan bases are spending a lot of time and a lot of money to support those creators. And it's this
Mhm.
virtuous cycle. Because I think the other thing that is important is that some of the most successful creators, like they put a goal of like, hey, I want a new streaming PC. It costs X number of dollars. And they put a goal. And so as people contribute to it, and I will tell you, like people on Twitch love to contribute to a good goal. And
Mm.
it's a loop, right? Because if you have a better streaming PC or a better microphone, you get a better stream and that community gets a better experience. And so it's
Mhm.
this just virtuous loop of I'm going to support you because ultimately it benefits me.
Yeah.
And I have a better experience and all of that. So yeah,
That's
there's a lot
yeah.
in there.
That's cool. That's crazy. It's like you can set that goal up. It's like a real time Kickstarter in that moment, and you kind of continue it through your streams, and it's ongoing. And you do mention for people that are kind of newer to Twitch when you're the gaming experience, and we're all used to gaming because Twitch. When I first went on it, it was right off the bat, it can be overwhelming if
Yep,
you're
totally.
not expecting it. There's a lot to
Yeah.
learn. There's things flying all over the place. There's things on the
Yep.
screen. It does seem like it's a gamified experience for everybody there. But then as I got deeper and got to know it, it felt much less random, and it felt like it was this fully like collaborative interactive gaming experience it was just like a collaborative interactive experience, and it almost felt like it was I call it gaming because it's like it's fun and games are fun,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it almost didn't seem like a game in the sense the traditional like I want to beat this boss and make it to the next
Right.
level. There are those kind of components, but it's also what was so interesting was like at the end of a song their form of applause was,
Yeah, totally.
it's just like you see these emotes popping up and the subs are coming in and then bits are coming in. And it's like,
Yeah,
it's a celebration after a
totally.
song. And it's like this new form. It's like the etiquette. And I keep hitting etiquette because it's the mindset shift of understanding what the etiquette is of each community. The
Yeah.
etiquette when you're at a listening room watching a folk concert is to clap after the show. You don't get up, take your shirt off, and spin it over your head and start
Right.
screaming. That's not the
Yeah.
etiquette at a folk concert. But at a rock show outside at
Yeah.
an amphitheater, hell, take your shirt off, take your pants off, whatever. Just like spin that around and scream, and that's totally acceptable. That's the etiquette
Yeah.
there. There's a different etiquette when it comes to Twitch, and it's like it sounds absurd, but like you're not necessarily going to sit in your room and just clap, at the end of somebody's song who's playing the thing because they're not going to hear that. So like
Totally.
there's a different way to show that appreciation. Applause just happens to be the thing that is universally accepted in the live space, in the physical realm. And then in the digital realm, Twitch has kind of created its own methods of showcasing appreciation, and I thought that that's like a really interesting, cool way to do it.
Well, and I think kind of that you make a good point is that, there's kind of the Twitch wide expectations,
Mm-hmm.
but each channel has its own community and its own inside jokes and its own etiquette as well. And so
Mm,
kind of what happens after a song or how do you get a song request in? Some folks have it where, hey, anyone can request a song and I will play any song. There are folks who say, okay, cool, I'm only going to play a song, to subscribers. Or there's kind of the hybrid models of like, hey, anyone can, request a song. but my subscribers will get, priority and things like that. And so it really kind of depends on the nature of your community, the size of it, has it grown over time? But, it could be like crazy emotes all over the place, or, it could be, more kind of polite, or like whatever it is. But I think kind of, that's the beauty of Twitch, is like, it's your channel. You can do whatever you want on it. And, you get to set the expectations of, because a lot of it too is cued on the creator, right? It's the like, I'm going to acknowledge certain kind of behaviors and that sort of thing. And I think kind of, that's what's like really kind of wonderful is the creator has control.
Yeah, and that's cool. And I've seen like the emotes. It's kind of like Twitch's version of an emoji, little icon image thing, and like people have created customized like hand drawings of the artist, and that like they can just like pop those on the screen at the end of a song and that kind of stuff.
Well, and the beauty of the emotes is that, in a lot of ways, that's the way that I think about emotes is like, that's the little, the little pin that you put on your backpack, the pins or patches that you put on your backpack. And the beauty of it is that the fans love, because you get a custom emote, you create a custom emote as a creator. If someone subscribes to your channel, they get access to use those emotes. They can use those emotes in your channel, but also in other channels as well. And so if there's a cool emote that you see, that it, then you can go directly back to that creator's channel, go follow them, and see what their community is all about. Which is
it's cool. Like wearing a Phoebe Bridgers T-shirt to a Maggie Rogers concert,
100%.
And to say it's like, hey, I sport this other artist, but like we're all the same here, and it's like that kind of a thing. So
100%,
yeah, that's cool. That's a cool way to do it. So in the music space specifically, I think there's some confusion, and I've been hearing this a lot from our live streaming students in Ari's Take Academy that are starting to do this, and then also just in the music community in general, like even some of the big streamers that you have out there, like Lara6683, she was tweeting about that. I think there's a lot of confusion about the just like what we're able to live stream, because music rights can get a little bit tricky at times. And there's so much confusion about like, am I allowed to play a cover song during my live stream? You were talking about Rack before, this electronic artist. Is he allowed to cut in a sample of a Dido song from the 90s during his live stream? Like, I don't, like, what's the answer? Like, what are we able to do? Because I think that's like, other than just playing our original music acoustically, I think there's a lot of confusion on like what we're allowed to do on Twitch.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a great question, and we obviously kind of get it quite a bit. I mean, the good news is like there's so many like creative ways that people are using Twitch, and then it's everything from just like making original music. So, we have a lot of creators like literally with Ableton or Pro Tools or Logic up kind of making music. There's the kind of live performances, both original and cover songs. Looping is my favorite thing, where you basically, an artist will like build up a song and play every single instrument. So there's lots and lots of kind of things that you can do. I think kind of the general guidance is that, live performances, well, live is the thing that we optimize for, right? Because live is where kind of the interaction happens, and live is where, quite frankly, like all of the financial support happens. And so we pay PRO rights just like any venue or public
performing rights organizations
to the PROs
for performance royalties, and licenses.
Exactly. Because just like any venue, that's the obligation for these live performances, whether they're originals or covers. Now kind of where it comes to pre-recorded or kind of any recorded, so whether it's VODs or clips, the guidance that we give is you should have the rights and permission to use the music or compositions. And so, Rack's a great example of like, he uses a lot of kind of snippets from records that he's actually created and tries to mix them all together. So basically that's the general guidance that we give is if you want recorded.
So you're saying VODs and clips, so that's video on demand. So that's the kind of the replays of the live. So like when you're doing it live, you're okay because it's just like you're performing live in a venue, and just like venues, you're getting those performance licenses in the States. It's like from ASCAP, BMI, CSEC, that kind of stuff. So you get the performance licenses just like you're a live venue in that space. The challenge, and I do understand this, And if you don't understand it, read chapter 13 in my book. It's like there's a whole slew of rights that come into play when you go into the I guess you call it video on demand, the VOD, the clips, but it's really just a video clip that you can then play.
Right.
And it's a replay that comes into there's a sync license that's required, and there's a bunch of other kinds of licenses that are required there and rights. And it's interesting that you mentioned, because I don't think enough people understand this or even realize this. How much of Twitch is live, and how much are people going there and watching the video on demands, watching these replays, or just watching video clips?
Yeah, I mean, I think the vast majority of the content is live, because again, that's where all the interaction is happening.
Okay.
What we see is super successful is actually, the thing that we say about Twitch is, we're not precious about Twitch being the only thing that you do. The beauty of live is you can take multiple bites of the apple. So you can kind of do a live session on Twitch. You can kind of, if you record that video in OBS or whatever streaming software you use, you can upload it to YouTube, assuming, you have the rights and they have the rights and all of that. You can take it to Twitter. You could, take the audio and make similar to this. You can make a podcast. We think that there's lots of things you can do with it, but just live is just where the community is just super interactive and supportive. And so that's what we optimize for. And, just to give a shout out, it is super, super complicated. We actually have a series called Camp Creator. It's a live stream in which we talk about really, really complex issues for creators. And next week's on December 9th, it's covering this very topic of what can musicians kind of do, what should they think about when they're broadcasting live.
Awesome. That's great to know. I noticed that you launched recently Soundtrack, and I was looking at the Soundtrack portal, or that page, and there was a lot of independent distributors and indie labels. I saw DistroKid on there. I saw Songtrader on there. What is Soundtrack?
Sure.
What is that?
Yeah, so Soundtrack it's a product that we launched a couple of months ago, and what it does is it enables creators on Twitch to feature licensed music within their live streams. This is content that both the artists and the labels really, really want to basically tap into. We talked about kind of the music loving audience of Twitch. It enables kind of the streamers to have that safe music, and basically a way for this crazy fan base to discover new music, and then just take that additional step to you can kind of within 2 clicks save it to your music service of choice, so Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, whatever. And 2, you can actually follow the live channel, the live Twitch channel of the artist that is playing, and that all kind of happens within video.
Cool. So when let's say I use one of these songs from Soundtrack in my live stream, is it does the name get put on the screen, or what does that mean when I use the song?
It's a great question. So basically what happens is, the broadcaster is using Soundtrack, and they connect it to the streaming software. And basically there's a feature which we call the artist promotion feature, which basically pops up within the video, and it has the metadata of the artist name, the song name, and then that's the thing that you click to save it to your music service of choice and or follow the Twitch live channel. We're super excited because, just the amount of demand. We launched it, I think, at the end of September, beginning of October. There's been over 100 labels and distributors who've reached out since, saying hey, how can we be a part of it? Just today, Matt Heafy from Trivium, he released his kind of new album on Soundtrack to just make sure that it's available for streamers to use kind of without rights.
So the next question that every musician is thinking right now is, how do I get my music there so streamers will use it? I want to see my song name pop up in the stream of a big live streamer. How do I get my music there, and what's the strategy to kind of go about that?
Yeah, so it depends on kind of what your relationship is and how you get your music onto the various services. So if you use DistroKid or SoundCloud, you can just kind of use those services to directly get your music submitted to Soundtrack. So it's important
Okay.
to know that Soundtrack is a playlist and radio station ecosystem. So it is kind of a curated experience to start. So that's kind of one way. Or if you basically work with your label, if you're signed to a label, because we work with dozens of them.
Cool. So if I distribute my music, let's say through DistroKid, and could I theoretically go to a live streamer that I dig, maybe it's a gamer, maybe it's someone else doing something, and be like, hey, you could feature my song in your thing. I use DistroKid. Is it safe to assume that they could theoretically search my song in the Soundtrack library and pop it up on the screen because because I used DistroKid, or do they just have to hit play on a general radio version of Soundtrack?
Yeah, so it is the latter, not the former. So right now we're starting kind of with a very curated experience. It's not on demand. So it is kind of, if you are within a playlist or a station, that's where you would show up.
Okay, yeah, I'm thinking of like, how can artists maybe use Twitch in a creative way to promote their music on other streams other than doing it live or something, or getting a raid from somebody else while they're live streaming. It's just like, what about if we like kind of have overlap with the Twitch community a little bit, with the music community, the gamer community, and it's just like, hey, gamers like music too, like let's go, I want to like go to some gamers and be like, hey, feature my song in your live stream. Would they be able to do that? Could they do that in general? Can they just like hit play on Spotify on my album or something and play that? Or
I mean, so that that's kind of, that goes back to the kind of rights and like how that all works and permission side. I think right now we're very much starting kind of Soundtrack. We're starting kind of small with the curated experience, and we hope to kind of scale it out over time. But I think exactly what you said is right. The whole intent is this massive audience. I mean, if 1.5 billion hours consumed is a lot of content consumed. And so kind of, as the creators, especially kind of on the gaming side, start to adopt Soundtrack, that's where we're going to see lots and lots of just new audiences.
Got it. Cool. I want to take some questions we have from people here. So the first person I'm going to bring in, she's actually the instructor for our live streaming for musicians course, Claire Means. She is an active live streamer on all the platforms, including Twitch, and she's been teaching this. And so let me bring her in. Here we do. We can just do, let me see here. All right.
Hey, Tracy, thank you so much for coming on and talking about Twitch. It's been like very informative. So I mean, I guess I just had a general question for like any newbies on Twitch, just little tips and tricks to get more visibility. I mean, I definitely know, like talking in the community, meeting other streamers and going on other streamers' broadcasts, and raids are super helpful. And like tagging yourself in the music category. So and also I guess I've noticed some days like I have more people coming in randomly from the music category than others. So I'm wondering how that algorithm works. Like if there's any hashtags or titles or lighting you recommend, or timing of the day, or just any other little tips you could give them that.
Yeah, that's a great question. So one thing that we encourage is, obviously tag yourself kind of in the music category, but we have additional tags as well that you can apply to your stream. Things like, what is it, like electronic music or singer-songwriter, things like that. Those kind of help kind of our algorithm surface up the right content to the right people. One thing that's important to know is that we optimize discovery on personalization. So it's, we think you will like this type of content versus, here's the big streams and go listen to them. One thing that's like super exciting is that I think only a week ago, we released an experiment where before, when you went to the music landing page, it was, here's all of the channels and they are sorted by concurrent viewers. So the biggest channels are first and the smaller channels are last. We've just released this new feature kind of as an experiment where there are different shelves of different types of use cases. So we kind of have live performers, we have music producers, we have music talk, different kind of categories in which, folks can basically go in and, discover music in the way that they're used to discovering music content. So the big thing to answer your question is use those tags, because those help inform which shelves would you go in? How do we personalize it to the individual users?
Okay. May I ask one more quick question too, actually?
Go for it.
About how I've also noticed like some people will have, 10,000 followers and they're not yet a partner, and some other people will have 3,000 and they are a partner. Now I know a lot of that has to do with like their viewership. Is there anything else, the reasons why certain people are partners? And also if you can talk about the benefits of becoming a partner too. I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So, we basically kind of have 3 tiers of streamers. So you kind of start off as a normal streamer. Once you kind of hit a certain threshold, and it's a pretty low threshold, you can become affiliate. Affiliate starts to unlock monetization for you. So you kind of get a default number. There you are. Wait, I feel like I know you.
Yeah, like turn your video on.
I know you.
I do live streaming for a living. Well, I forgot to turn on the camera. I'm so sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Awesome. Yeah. So affiliate basically unlocks monetization. So you can enable subscriptions and emotes and things like that. And then partnership is kind of our highest level. Basically, you do have to hit regular concurrent audience thresholds. You have to have a certain number of hours broadcast. This is kind of the folks who are really, really committed to Twitch. So what it does is it unlocks additional benefits, like you get prioritized support. You have much more emote slots. So you can have more kind of our custom emojis. You have better monetization options, that sort of thing. And there are additional, basically when we do community-based programs, you can participate in those as well. So basically it's if Twitch is kind of the platform where you want to do live, like we're going to support you back.
No, so the partner, the monetization thing does every partner get the same cut? Like with like, okay. Cause I was talking to somebody about it and they're like, some partners, I was confused, and because some people I was talking to in the community, they're like, some partners make more per sub than others or something. And is it all the same?
So I think kind of our partnership tier is a standard tier, and it's basically kind of like the allocations of ads versus all of that. Those could be different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks. Awesome. So so that's a really good point. So these various tiers, which from the affiliate to the partner, is that written out anywhere in Twitch so people could be like, oh, I need X number of X of Y to get to affiliate, or I need X number of Y to get to partner? Like, how do we know what we're aiming for when it comes to that?
Yeah, so there's 2 places. So one, I think kind of we have a general on our support side in the FAQs, you can see what the tiers actually are and the thresholds. And then 2, basically as you kind of move through the different tiers. So if you start out, you'll see basically in your creator dashboard, here's kind of the thresholds that you need to hit. It is important to know that like these are invite programs. So you may be able to like hit all of those things, but say for example, like you kind of did something you shouldn't have done and you violated community guidelines. Like, those are some criteria as well, which our partnership team looks at. And I think kind of, there are other things that, again, for partnership specifically, it's you've committed to Twitch. So there are some like, basically some requirements we have around exclusivity and things like that. Whereas affiliates kind of a more open program.
Right. I do know because a lot of live streamers use Restream, which enables them to stream, do a live stream on multiple platforms at once, like you do Periscope and YouTube, or Facebook and YouTube at the same time, or something like that. I do know that there is a restriction, I believe, or correct me if I'm wrong, where once you enable monetization, once you become an affiliate or a partner, you are exclusive to Twitch in that one stream, meaning you don't multi-stream at the same time.
So that's true for partnership. And the reason why we have that requirement is really, we know that just monetization works so well when you're focused and you're interacting with the platform. And it's quite hard to do that when you're trying to look at multiple screens and interacting with multiple communities.
That makes sense. Cool. We have a question from Athena Burke. She says, how is Twitch for older musicians? I have tons of fans on Facebook, but curious how I would fit in on Twitch and how to transition.
Yeah, it's a great question. So we have just artists of all genres use cases, demographics. So it's less a matter of just like older musicians or younger musicians or whatever. Again, the important thing to remember is, our the average number of fans, making over 25,000, it's under 200. And so you actually kind of don't need that scale of like, you don't need the whole Twitch, demographics to be looking at you. So yes, we have lots and lots of artists kind of a bunch of different demographics and fan bases that do really, really well on Twitch.
Cool. Right on. Great to hear. I'm going to bring Jaron in. Jaron, how's it going?
It is going. Nice to meet you, Tracy.
Hey.
All right. So, Tracy, I recognize the importance of visibility. I'm glad to hear that you guys are just launched something to help, because I'm a no one on Twitch. Claire and other people are up on the top. There's no way I can compete with people with mass following. So I'm glad to hear that you're shelving it per different tiers. However, with that said, I'm sure you know how Google Ads works. And that's a pay for real estate kind of thing. First page, you type, I need a plumber in New York. You know that people are only going to look at the first 20 hits. Similarly, I see the layout in Twitch like that. You go in the music category, an abundance of people. How do small fries like myself get seen? Because obviously you guys it's not a pay for play system. It's a community spirit. So what metrics and tools do you have coming down in the pipeline? Tutorials, assets, things that we can use to us really build our channels. Because yes, I believe in building community, raids and all that. That's very broad and that's good, effective. But what strategy specifics?
Yeah, so I think kind of first and foremost, the thing to kind of really think about with Twitch is that we optimize on personalization, not kind of size. And so when you go into, Twitch and the Twitch music page, you'll see folks with, dozens of concurrent fans. And so, we've moved away from the like big channels, kind of get more discovery. The best advice I could give kind of on best practices is we have a site called Camp Creator for musicians. So it's artists.twitch.tv. Check out there, that has all of the resources. There's some kind of best practices, and we're continuing to add to that ecosystem. And a lot of that advice is from successful music streamers.
And I love that. And that's like such a, we'll definitely link to that as well. It'll be in the show notes, what you're talking about, the ars.twitch.tv/TV. I'll get the correct link and we'll put it in there. That's super helpful to know. And I feel the frustration in Jaron's voice when it's just like, I'm a small potato. Like, how do I compete with the big guys? But like, I love that you keep going back to, and it's like so important for people to realize the average number of people that are making $25,000 a year on Twitch have fewer than 200 fans. Like, that's very attainable. But like, then you also said, starting with becoming a community member and maybe just spending a bit more time as a fan, not trying to like do the thing right away without the full tool belt of tools and understanding how it goes. So that's really cool too. We're gonna stop it there. Tracy, I want to thank you so much for spending the time with us today.
Awesome.
This was like really insightful, informative. I think everyone listening to this right now is probably going on Twitch seconds after we finish this. This is like, and check it out, because it's a really cool community. And I love that like the word of the day today has been community. And like, that's really, in my opinion, what the entire new music business is all about. Now, I have one final question that I ask everyone who comes on the show. And that is, what does it mean to you to make it in the new music business?
What does it mean to me to make it in the new music business?
Yeah,
I think kind of the world is an awesome place where musicians can basically live comfortably off of just making music and just, doing what they love. I don't think that historically, kind of in this current, in the current music ecosystem, it's not that, that's actually limited to the very few. And I know that there's so many people, who have that extra job, to support music. They're working in a bar, they're doing Postmates, Uber, whatever. And I think kind of, what we're trying to do, and what I think, I'm so passionate about, is like, you should be able to live comfortably making music and doing what you love. And if we can achieve that at scale, like, we're doing a great job.
I love it. Cool. Tracy Patrick Chan, thank you so much for joining us. Have a great day.
Thanks, Ari.
All right. See ya.